It's a new week of possibilities and hope. We're bringing hope here on Breakfast Central, even as we count down to the elections happening in a few months and a lot of activities leading up to the elections. We hope that you had a good weekend and that your day is off to a great start. We're streaming live on YouTube, New Central TV Live, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation. So join us for the next 3 hours as we take you around Nigeria looking at some of our biggest stories. I am Olive Emodi and you're welcome to the show.
And I'm Benga Borough. Welcome to Breakfast Central this beautiful Monday morning, wherever you're watching from across the world. The Straits of Hormuz was open and then it was closed. Now it's closed, because you don't know what happens next. And Nigerians were hoping that the Straits would be open so that, you have petrol prices come down. But we continue to watch events in the Middle East and see how it affects the rest of us around the world. You're welcome to the program. We
do have a special surprise host. Do I call him a guest host? But it's a surprise host joining us on Breakfast Central. It gives me great joy to present to you all the way from Breakfast Extra to Breakfast
Before
Central.
you unveil him, I mean, sometimes as an anchor, you admire other anchors and you wish you want to, in like Lagos State Spelling Bee competition, you get to play governor for a day. So we have privilege, we've given him the honor to play co-anchor on Breakfast Central for a day.
It's the honor to be Johansson for at least a couple of days. Well, good morning, and thank you very much for the welcome. Thank you very much,
welcome.
Benga.
That's a very exalted seat you're sitting on.
Thank you very much.
I hope you made very good use of it this morning.
It did feel warm. It did feel warm when I sat in it, so I could feel Johansson's imprint. But good morning, and thank you very much, everybody. I'm looking forward to a very exciting week with you guys here.
Great to have you.
Central. Thank you very much. You do rein me back in. I'm too much of satire, so if I do get overboard, just
no, you can never be too much of satire. When Benga Aborowa is on the show.
He's his next level.
Benga that sometimes I'm like, guy, we have to ring bell for him. That's why
with the NBCs. Oh, we have one of those.
Yes.
Interesting.
I hope the NBC won't clamp down on it. I also have something.
What is this?
Don't tell me you brought your whistle to work.
It's a whistle of conscience.
It's actually serious.
Benga went to watch football match yesterday, and I sense that this was
even a red whistle. So if we see anything that is alarming, we flag it like this.
Very interestingly, what I brought with me, no, I didn't bring anything.
What is going on? Every day they are bringing out different things.
Different props. I mean, by the end of this year, the show will be a babalash. You might have your calabash of conscience.
You see what I say?
I see it now. I get it. I feel well at home. So thank you very much for the welcome. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we will get into the conversations. I'm sure that, Zino would like to... and our audience, everyone must have seen the latest announcement by NBC. Not out of place, not surprising, because it's something that we see happen every election cycle. It feels that there is a notice that officially has to be put out by the NBC to sort of let everyone know to sit up, right? All right, Zino, would you take us through our first story today?
Yes, indeed. So, first story today, human rights organization Amnesty International has strongly criticized the recent directive issued by the National Broadcasting Commission, describing it as an attempt to stifle press freedom and impose unlawful restrictions on journalists.
All right, so maybe we should read out the press release.
Yes, I'll take that press release from Amnesty International. Amnesty International says they strongly condemn the latest outrageous...
if our producers can please, or those scrolling, please bring down this. Thank
pause,
you.
Please. Yes. Amnesty International strongly condemns the latest outrageous and desperate attempt by the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, to gag journalists and the media through unlawful and repressive formal notice to broadcasters dated 17th of April 2026. The Commission has no power or right to tell journalists how to do their job. The notice, which targets political broadcast and anchors of current affairs and political programs, that's us.
Please, that's not us, we are not.
Places unduly restrictive and invasive controls on the media and journalists. The bizarre notice issued by NBC is an attempt to pressure journalists and media organizations into self-censorship. Nigeria's vibrant broadcast media, whose editorial content is independent, enables people to freely seek, debate, receive, and impart information and ideas as envisaged by the African Charter on Human Rights and the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights. The Nigerian authorities must stop using the NBC in an unrelenting quest to silence journalists and the media organizations that are crucial to ensuring independent and diverse media space that fulfill people's rights to information. The latest threat issued by NBC is authoritarian and unconstitutional. Broadcasters must continue doing their job fiercely and independently without fear. End of notice.
Strangest thing there is that Benga had to take off his glasses to actually read that, so I'm confused. Do you need those glasses or don't you? I'll tell you something, what I think regarding this. I think the NBC is actually doing its job. The NBC is supposed to be, well, we trust the NBC, or we should trust the NBC to be able to regulate when it comes to if broadcasters are going overboard.
All right, but maybe we should even lay some context, because we haven't even said what the NBC has said, right? But to give our audience a context as to what they said, there was a statement on Sunday. This group had faulted NBC, but the NBC's official notice was dated April 17, 2026. And this, of course, targets political broadcasters and anchors of current affairs programs. Now, if we can have it up. Now, this notice says the National Broadcasting Commission has identified a sustained increase in breaches of the 6th edition of the Nigerian Broadcasting Code across news, current affairs, and political programs. Broadcast platforms are increasingly being deployed in ways that depart from their core obligation to inform, sorry, it's a bit tiny to read, to inform the public with accuracy, balance, and professionalism. As we approach the 2027 general elections, the Commission hereby notifies all broadcasters and stakeholders that it will enforce an uncompromised compliance with. Okay, this is very difficult to read.
Yeah, sorry. The print is rather fine, a bit too little.
But I think they get.
But I think you got the general gist in there. And as I was saying from before regarding the NBC doing what it's mandated to do, this I understand. And let's be honest, if you want to, you should also acknowledge the fact that there are certain breaches that some broadcasters might have taken, or at least going over the line. But at this time, I think at the heart of it is trust, how people perceive information coming from institutions, and the fact that we have a very big deficit when it comes to trust with institutions, especially at this time, whether it's INEC or the NBC right now. Trust is the main thing. How we're going to be able to, well, make that go away, it's left to time to tell. But I think it's very critical now, and these conversations or communications coming out are subject to how we already feel about these institutions.
The response from Amnesty International, it's quite strongly worded and quite powerful. And, you know, they use words like outrageous, unconstitutional, and others will argue that, you know, it's just a reminder. Why are we making a big deal out of this? So I don't know where to draw the balance, because they just said refer to the code and abide by the broadcast code. But Amnesty International is saying it's outrageous and desperate attempt to. Are we reading a lot into it, knowing that we're approaching, I mean, it's political season already?
All right. Speaking about, you know, just piggyback off where Benga left in terms of it being political season, part of the criticism that the NBC has, you know, has been leveled against the NBCs, again, referencing what you said, many talking about the institution and how much is there a breach of trust. Do citizens really trust the institution? And why this has come to the fore, some of the reactions we've seen have been many who have asked why the NBC was silent when a political figure threatened to shoot a journalist on television, and where was the protection there? And there have been times when it feels like, you know, journalists have had to be extra careful in terms of doing their job. So where was the press release and the protection in the immediate moment that this happened? You know, that's one of the analysis we've seen in that regard. Also, the arguments have been that the Constitution does provide for freedom of expression, and typically when any law or code contravenes the Constitution, the Constitution automatically supersedes it. So how do we find the balance? There have even been litigation in that regard, as to the freedom of the press. And because it is political season, of course, eyebrows will be raised when statements like this are put out. The NBC will do its job, but many will raise their eyebrows and wonder if there's any form of political undertone to it. Again, because we are counting down to official elections, and at the end of the beginning of the new year, ending of this year into the beginning of the new year, with electing new political leaders. So
also talking about institutional failure of NBC. Remember Badegi FM in
yes,
Niger State when it was closed down by the governor. The governor doesn't have the right to do that, and NBC was silent.
Well, they were, I don't think that they were silent about that. They did speak up eventually.
Okay.
Right? Eventually. They did speak up about it eventually. It was just maybe in the immediate moment that happened.
Yes.
Maybe many people expected some form of outreach.
It was a medicine, it's a case of medicine.
I just wanted to quickly add, I mean, if we're in the business of communication and the NBC being the one people who regulate that communication, well, they're not doing a very good, I'm sorry, please don't bar me, but they're not doing a very good job when it comes to communication itself. Because if you're going to put out these kinds of communication, how about removing the ambiguity? Yes, you're going to refer to the codes and let us go read it, but that's not exactly what anybody who's not a broadcaster understands. How about putting it out there, exactly what you want broadcasters to do or not to do? So there's no, left to interpretation for the broadcasters or anybody who's getting that information. That's just another take I'd like to put in there.
All right. Probably let's bring you what Nigerians are saying about this. Of course,
we also need to say at News Central, we abide by the code, and we also give our guests a fair hearing, and we also give all parties a right to respond. So we're very professional, and I guess that's why you're watching us this morning. Just wanted to put that out there.
Didn't you have that Twitter conversation? Sorry, let's go on.
All right, let's come into the conversation this morning with the voices of our audience and hear what they have to say about this. On X, government-backed area boys physically assaulted a journalist and media crew of News Central TV at Ojota 2 years ago, and it was aired live. What did NBC do about it? NBC that can't protest. Journalists are now policing them. Just to mention that this happened, let's go back to that tweet earlier and give a bit of context to it. Bernard Akede, our reporter, was attacked live on television. We had the Nigerian police join us on television. They made promises. The faces of these thugs was captured live on television. So what actions have been taken to ensure that the lives of journalists are protected? Because the truth is, as we count down to elections, there's a risk. Journalists, you see them going outside, they're wearing bulletproof vests. And this was another incident where this man shoved Israel Iferobo at the fire outbreak on Lagos Island, I believe. And he shoved him and nothing was done. Yes, the man later came back and apologized and said it was in the heat of the moment and he wasn't happy about how things were going. He was under pressure. And basically, that was what led to his actions. So we did give him a chance to apologize. But the thing is, the questions that come to mind is, are we being fair? We will say that journalists are as protected as much as they're put on the stand. And then again, referencing the statement that the Minister of the FCT had said regarding Shehu Baloyi of Channels TV, where he said he was triggered sort of by the statement Shehu had made that Shehu was putting his opinion in a question. There are those who might interpret that statement sounded like it was, of course, validating what the FCT minister had said in the sense of presenters should not put their opinions in the question, as opposed to dealing with the fact that he said, if I could reach there, I would have shot him through the television, even though he later came back to apologize, not apologize, to clarify that he did not mean it literally. Because I don't think...
I like the question Azino asked, and it's very important. What does NDPC want? They should spell it out in fine print. Tell us what you want. What is your standard? If you were on our side, how would you conduct some of these interviews?
And where does opinion breach, or rather, where does fact breach into opinion?
Maybe they want...
I think that's an...
Hi, Olive, may we know you? How is the government doing? Okay. I don't know. It's just my thoughts.
Okay.
So you respond and say all the things all the achievements your government has made. And then, okay, no pushback. So we'll now move to our third question. What's your favorite food?
Please, I'm not among them.
I see what you meant about
I'm
being
not around. Let's still take more reactions. Let's take more reactions to this and see what Nigerians are saying about it as well. What about stations that will lie that Nigerians are not hungry or claim economy is improving when it is not?
Hey, that's a very big table. A very big table.
Very big goal.
Because there
valid questions.
There are television. Oh wow, this is going to be very, very tough to meander. There are television stations that are very well known to actually have or seem to be the voice of certain organizations or individuals that are in governance or the presidency itself. So the question is, how exactly are they regulating these television stations? If you note the authority or power that they have in terms of influence, nothing seems to ever be done when it comes to these one-sided statements that support certain institutions, even when they're going wrong. We don't see that happening. This brings back again what I'm talking about, trust. How much trust do broadcasters have in the NBC? How much trust do the people have in institutions, Nigerian institutions? Because once it's not there, whatever communication you put out, you're just putting out communication. They already have their perception of these institutions.
They already do.
Very true.
Okay, let's take a few more tweets and then we'll call it a wrap on that story. Still looking at what Nigerians are saying and the reactions. Going forward, all responsible media houses, anchors and presenters avoid interviewing politicians or government representatives and all our current and future leaders. Interview people on the street and social media influencers. That's what this young man has to say about it.
So when did you start doing whoa, whoa, whoa? Okay, that's where we're going.
He is worse than I am.
So young and so fit.
Benga, please, I beg you. All right, let's take the next week. Benga, do you want to take that?
Yes. Jerry says this is how it started in Iran and North Korea.
Oh, no.
The government is taking control of the media small. Very soon, we will only see or hear what they permit.
I beg to differ there. I think the government is doing, NBC is doing what it's supposed to do. Like I said from before, it just has to be about the interpretation. Interpret it for us or the people before it gets there. Otherwise, left to our interpretation, and we'll take it anyhow we see it, if you are.
All right. I want to reference some cases that have been pointed out regarding this. In Media Rights Agenda Against National Broadcasting Commission, Federal High Court Abuja 2023, court ruled that the NBC's fines on broadcasters were unlawful and restrained the commission from imposing such penalties. And this position was upheld by the Court of Appeal in April 2026, which dismissed NBC's appeal, nullified prior sanctions, and affirmed that the commission cannot act as accuser, prosecutor, and judge based on the principle nemo judex in causa sua. A party cannot be a judge in his own cause. Earlier authorities also reinforced the same principle in Arthur Wankwo against the state in 1985. The Court of Appeal held that criticism of public officials is protected expression. Director of SSS versus Olisa Agbakoba in 1999, Supreme Court held that restrictions on fundamental human rights must be strictly justified. So the question is, how do we find that balance and how do we find that thin line, in these conversations? We'll continue to explore these, the thin lines. We will do our job. We'll continue to ask the questions that matter, and we will not. We'll try our best to not err on the side of caution. But again, just to quickly touch on briefly on the next point, which is as we count down to the elections, we also want to look at the weight of commentary that public office holders, will be making in the countdown to the elections. A few days ago, we had the interview, His Excellency Peter Obi of the ADC went on Arise TV and granted an interview. The reaction to that was a tweet by the SA to the President on Information and Media Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, and he put out a tweet in which he used such strong words, many would argue, in terms of describing Peter Obi. And I do not know, I believe that we should have the tweet. And in this tweet, he had made reference to his, Peter Obi in a certain way, called him opportunistic, he called him inconsistent. And, the question was about how he had come to a lot of these conclusions. Now, Peter Obi in that interview had been asked about why he had been moving from ABGA to PDP to Labour Party and now to the ADC. And he was of the view, defending his movement, that, his movement was as a result of certain setup, right? And that they had setting up, as a setup within the party, those who had caused issues within the party, and that if he needs to move, he will move. But we'll come to talk about this much later and look at the implications of statements made and the potential of them to maybe heat up the polity or not. But let's share with you our headlines this morning on Breakfast Central. Our top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. Kwankwaso allegedly accepts Obi's running mate offer for 2027 elections. We're looking into the details. And we'll be exploring PDP's zonal leaders prepare for interim takeover amid Anyanwu leadership standoff. Still on the headlines, NBC cracks down on broadcasters' breaches, rolls out fresh directives. Ahead of 2027 elections, stakeholders underscore competence, integrity in choice of candidates. We'll be reviewing the newspaper front pages as well. Stick around for all these and more.
So, speculations of a major political alliance ahead of 2027 general elections is intensifying following claims that former Kano State Governor Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso has agreed to serve as running mate to former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi. Now, the claim was made by political ally Ibrahim Abdulkarim during a television interview where he stated that discussions between both camps have progressed beyond speculation and a mutual understanding already reached.
According to him, supporters of both leaders, including the Obedient and the Kwankwaso movements, are aware of the arrangement, suggesting a growing alignment between the two political bases. While there has been no official confirmation from either camp, the development is fueling debate about a possible coalition that could reshape Nigeria's political landscape in 2027. And now to help us unpack these claims and what they could mean for the 2027 elections, we're joined by the National Director General, OK Movement, John Wulu. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning,
good morning, guys.
Welcome.
OK Movement, I don't believe that it's a name that I'm familiar with. Can you talk us through what the OK Movement represents?
Okay, in a nutshell, like I was trying to talk to you earlier, OK is, in a simple term, just mean this is the most common used word all over the world. It means that you're coming to a school where you have students bullying themselves. The first thing you're going to say, guys, is okay. Your children at home banging, fighting, and you're going to say, is okay. And literally, we've not been able to define the meaning of okay. Okay just simply means reassurance that, look, this thing is going to be okay. I mean, we are going to be okay. I'm going to come out. There'll be justice. Just give me time to sort it out.
So who are the warring parties and who is saying
Mediating.
it's okay? Who's mediating?
That's people of like minds, like me, like you can say that you can part of it. It means that it's word that you use every day.
No, me, I'm with NCO, no Central, not OK.
It's very important.
But you use my word every day at home, you use it back, you use it in the studio. So what we're able to do is to fact check all the whole leaders, what they have in common. So we're able to check Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso and His Excellency Peter Obi. We find that they have something very much in common. Even the movement is organic from Obedience. The movement of Kwankwaso movement is very organic. And we see that both the leaders have one thing in common, which is education. If you look at the history of Peter Obi, you can fact check that. All he talks about is how to get people back to school, how to bring human capital development in human being in Nigeria as a whole. Likewise, Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso, the same thing he preached about is bringing out of school kids back to school. So that baseline that we're able to draw, that Peter Obi have this in common, Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso have this in common, both of them were able to align together and say, okay, this is why we said Nigeria will be okay with these two leaders.
But don't you think, I mean, a cross-section of Nigerians think you're jumping the gun. That is very futuristic. And like we said in the beginning, that it's still speculations. Because the ADC, party which they belong to, hasn't even conducted primaries. And there are other heavyweights that are interested in the #1 seat in the land. So they would say, you're not moving ahead of yourself. And I mean, Mr. Senator Kwankwaso, in his own rights too, is a heavyweight, is contested for the presidency of this country. Why would he agree to be a vice president to Peter Obi and all of that?
Okay,
how would you
I understand what you're saying. At this stage, we've not come out to tell Nigeria the ticket is for Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso, or Peter Obi is the president to be, or Rabiu Kwankwaso is vice president.
It's just an agreement between...
What we're saying is that these two leaders, every leader in it are all working together to producing the better choice for Nigeria.
Okay.
And we are saying that with this OK movement, we'll be able to like check around the look, this is what the leader has got in stock, this is what this one has got. It doesn't really mean that the other leaders are not contributing or are not good enough. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that this is what Nigeria needs at this time of this hailing moment. Nigeria is in a bad shape. You can all say that. And what we're saying is that we've checked what these people have done in the past. And for you to define, leaders are not born, leaders are made. That's what we need to understand. And these two leaders have been able to bring themselves out to Nigeria. Look, I've been able to build myself, and this is what I have to offer. And that is what we are bringing out.
Well, Mr. Ulu, can I jump in here and say, first of all, okay, I also identify that it's Obi and Kwankwaso. Okay, so that's great anagramization.
Yeah.
But apart from that, let's talk about the ideologies that are driving these two individuals and whether these ideologies also permeate into the grassroots as they begin to mix these ideologies together. You have the North West and then the South East at this point coming together, which from before would have had very different ideologies. You only just spoke about education being the one thing that actually brings them together. Apart from that, I don't want to use the word tribal. I'll use the word traditional differences or dynamics that also are within these political
blocks.
Concepts or blocks. When coalitions happen, people always think in terms of numbers. Numbers in the sense that, when it comes to elections, we're going to have these people and these people come together, boom. But they forget to identify the fact that ideologies differ when it comes to the grassroots, the individuals. That ideology is the reason why I follow a person.
Correct.
But if you start to tamper with that ideology, then you're losing people. Has that consideration been made?
Yeah, like I said earlier, Kwankwaso movement is an organic movement. Obedience is an organic movement. And something would pull, in organic movement, something will pull you there. Regardless of your race, your tradition, your culture, ethnicity, it doesn't matter this time around. You believe in this person, that this person can deliver that which you want. This person is giving you that hope that you want. They are showing that the hope that Nigeria is going to get to this point from A to B. These are the two things that drags us.
But you would have to make compromises here and there when it comes to the ideology.
Of course,
once these ideologies change, you lose the grassroots.
Correct. And I'm telling you that because you have this same ideology, which I have, change is constant, we understand. But if the change is tilting towards what I want, what you want, I mean, the game's on. I see no reason of losing my followers. Do you get what I'm saying now?
So is it really a thing of you genuinely believing that the Obedient and the Kwankwaso movement are both organic movements, or you think it will make better political sense because the Obedient movement is a force on its own, the Kwankwaso movement is a force on its own that also brings the Northern Bloc and that influence that Kwankwaso, has to offer in the North? Is it more of a political alliance than it is just the fact that it's an organic movement? Sometime last month I had Hussein Rufai was saying some news, whatever, was saying it's coming too late, that if this has happened in 2023, it simply still means that the ideology in between these two leaders, you can't argue it. And for us that are there, we are not even talking about the block vote, or yes, it counts, it matters, the numbers. But what we are saying is that the Kwankwaso move, if you speak to a Kwankwaso person, the same way he carries that narrative of His Excellency Peter Obi and that of Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso is the same way we speak about Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso and Obi. So the two parties, the two people, the two leaders have that thing in that very common ideology that we hold on to. That look, this is what Nigeria needs at this time. What is the ideology? Because I'm a bit confused, and what has changed between 2023 and 2026?
A lot have changed.
In 2023, they could not agree on this perspective, and this ideology all of a sudden has become something to work with in 2026.
I'm not here to take Nigeria back to 2023. What I'm here for is to discuss the future, where we are going to. Whatever must have happened in 2023 that refused the combination of Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso and Peter Obi, that is left for the leadership trade to discuss. My business here today is to tell Nigeria we have a better option, a better hope for you. We have a better, I can't say the best, I'll use the word better, that look, we have this set of people that you can go back and check their narrative, you can check history out. In Nigeria today, it's only Peter Obi that is telling you, you can go back and fact check me. You can call this. He called names. Whenever I remember last month he was telling Nigeria that look, during the campaign, the former Lagos State governor, Babajide, whatever, the other one that left. First one after Tinubu, Governor Fashola.
Yeah.
That Fashola came to campaign in Anambra, that he, Peter, gave Fashola his car to use. A man that is campaigning against you, that is real politician. That is a true Democrat. Not having to say, look, you are coming here to destroy. We have person that will tell you, you cannot even campaign in my stadium. Let you know coming to use my car.
Yeah, we heard plenty of that.
But let's now come to the reality of what the ADCs today. They're heavyweights that feel they have the right to aspire for the presidential ticket. And Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is one big name.
Correct.
He does have a large following. What are the chances or possibilities of either Mr. Peter Obi or Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso emerging as the candidates in ADC as it's presently constituted?
Yeah, like I'll still...
Or would you prefer a consensus type of candidacy?
Yeah, I'm not one of the leaders in the ADC party. But one thing I can assure you that either if you don't reverend the presence of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, that means you're joking. We know it's one man that Nigeria understands is a strong and a big politician, and is very qualified to be Nigerian president, no doubt about that. We have people like them El Rufai, Senator Tambowa, people, they are there. But what we are telling you today is that we've been able to look across all board, that looks, with them supporting this narrative we're giving, will mean there will be a great change in Nigeria, and that's what we're out for.
I don't know if you would agree, if anybody here agrees with me, but it doesn't give me confidence that, because if Atiku is still telling that he is still out for 2027 and indicating interest, and you also have this Obi Kwankwaso movement, then it seems like I'm not very sure what the coalition is about, if it's as Congress as it wants to be, because you're profiling these two, and then there's somebody else who's saying that I'm still perhaps in the running. But let's move away from that. Let's talk about grassroots and the machinery within this OK movement now. Let's talk about the fact that when it comes to politics in Nigeria, it seems to be the other way around. We're so vested at the top and say, okay, these two are coming together to form a coalition, and we forget the people who are supposed to actually give those votes. Correct. So what mechanisms are in place to actually, and to piggyback off of what Rufai said, that it's too late because 2027 is already here, what mechanism is on ground to make sure that you get the people to understand this joint ideology that you're bringing forward?
Okay, fine. What we keep telling people that this election is, it's a different kind of election that we've not seen before. Is the present leader of today against the people. I understand we're from ADC. I understand we are OK movement. But what we are telling the people are here to tell the government that, look, we're tired of this. We can't have it. You can't keep. I guess you drove down to this place, so you could have taken the bus. I don't know.
Right.
But I stopped by to buy gas. I mistakenly, I told the guy 15,000. He thought 50,000. He went and do 50,000. And here I can't transfer 50,000. I told him I only got 17,000 in my account. So I got to call somebody to pay the money for me. And within 2-3 minutes, 50,000. It tells you that less than 27 liters, 28 liters of fuel. So it tells you where we are going to. And I can tell you, as a consultant of oil and gas, I can tell you that you're still going to buy that for 2,000 naira very soon. So there is no future. But
what's the mechanism on ground for the people and the grassroots to understand what the movement is about, so to buy into that ideology? Because that's the biggest part in politics here. That's where the numbers come, not the identity of the people.
Our core values are very simple. It's integrity, human capital, human relationship, equity, fairness, justice. That is what we stand for, and unity. And when you're able to bring that to the people, that look, regardless of who you are, whatever must have happened is okay now. We're here to tell you that these two forces...
May I double down once again?
Correct.
What is the mechanism? How do you intend for people to buy in to this new ideology?
Yeah, I mean, just to add to what you said, or to maybe expand it a bit further, is the fact that it's one thing for politicians and organizations to come out and say, this is our ideology, this is what we are looking to achieve. But
how do you get
it is numbers. How do you translate those to numbers? How do you reach those in the grassroots?
Yeah,
you have people around the country, in the local communities.
Yeah, it will shock you to know that while we launched this OK movement on the Twitter space, within 2 hours, we're able to clock more than 6,000. You can fact check. We're able to take 6,000 followers just on that. It will shock you to understand that in the whole region, that is from the ward level down to the local government, state, federal, we've been able to clock over 38,000 leaders. We're building. I'm not saying followers, I'm talking of leadership. And that's the major problem I said that we have in Nigeria. We believe that God is going to send us a leader that will take us from this quagmire. But we are saying that leaders are made, they are not born. So what we're able to do, first of all, is to create 32,000 leaders in various wards, local government, to bring them on board, to give them training, to say this is where we are going to.
So if you have a 32, you said 32,000.
32,000, you can fact check.
So how many followers do you have?
I'm just talking of leadership alone. You can imagine, last in obedience, I can tell you the election, I was the DG Lagos State. I can tell you that our vote, is gone to the court, our vote was more than 11 million votes. But that has not been proven because at the end of the day, this is what the court says.
Okay.
But we know that the people, if you ask an average Nigerian on the street, in the last election, what do you think, who won? They will tell you it's Labour Party then. They will tell it to you, and you know, except you're not being convinced.
I'm only going with what the official records are saying.
So,
but what I'm asking is, you say you have 32,000 leaders for the OK movement.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm going to translate into voting.
Exactly. So that's the question. How are you translating this into real votes? How are you translating if Obi and Kwankwaso become the official? Because the truth is, we might be jumping ahead of ourselves. Yeah, there's nothing to categorically clearly tell us that Obi and Kwankwaso will emerge as the party flag bearers for the ADC. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, last I checked, has not shelved his ambition.
No. Beautiful. Ambition are meant to carry on. I mean, it's allowed.
Exactly. So how do you intend to, bring all these factors together? Maybe unite so is the OK movement, I know there's the obedience movement and there's the Kwankwaso movement. Yeah. Are you all working in collaboration, or are you working in silos?
No,
is the chain of command now a single chain of command?
Correct. That's why I'm saying that because we have a single ideology, so it's a lot easier for us to work together, that this is the way. We've looked back, this is where we made error.
Are you sure it's an ideology or a single mission to replace
I've
President
just told you that
Tinubu?
You cannot make people together with different ideology. It's not going to be possible, most especially if the ethnicities are different. But if they have a single ideology, mean that, look, this is where I'm going to. The route that we should take to that, it doesn't matter.
All right, let's pause on that. We need to go on a very quick break. When we come back from the break, the conversations continue with the National Director General of the OK movement regarding the alleged teaming of Kwankwaso and Peter Obi. We'll be right back. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the information reaching us about the alleged working together, the alleged alliance between Peter Obi and Kwankwaso. And as a result of this, we're speaking with the National Director General of the OK movement, John Ugulu. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, before we went on that break, we're talking about something, and you said you kept speaking on ideology. But critics of the OK movement would argue that, as opposed to there being an ideology, that your singular agenda is get President Tinubu out of power, as opposed to a concrete ideology. How do you respond to that?
Well, no matter, like I said, no matter the ideology you have, no matter the ideas, no matter the formation you have, for you to exhibit this, you need to be empowered to show Nigeria that, look, good governance is possible, security is possible, and awareness, health, whatever is possible. Right now, we're not getting it.
But why should Nigerians even trust you? Because politicians say nice things when they're out of office until they get that power.
Very good question. Why Nigeria would trust is that we can't be hopeless in life. If once you're still living, you can't be hopeless. And this government is saying renewed hope agenda. And naturally, in history, shows that there's not like a renewed hope. You cannot renew a hope. You can only assure the hope that this is possible. And that's the assurance you're bringing, that, look, we're bringing this good governance to you. We've been able to tell you that this is the people, that this is the two persons. Fact check them, what they have done in their past. Based on that, you can agree with me to say, if Obi has got anything skeleton hidden, anything that you can rubbish him, I'm very sure that Daniel Buala would have come outside and say it. I'm very sure that Reno Mokri would have come out and blow it on air. But they found nothing. And this man kept walking on the street of Lagos, telling you, the street of Nigeria, telling you that, look, I've done this before and I can do it again. He's the only person that has been preaching that, look, Nigeria should be a producing country. Keep saying that this is the only way we can grow. But this government is telling you Nigeria can only borrow. We can only borrow in and use to sustain. And borrowing will not sustain us. And that's where we are today.
So you are assured hope coming to kick out renewed hope.
That's
in the midst of all this,
hope is not a strategy.
but in the midst of all of this, can I just note one thing here? And I keep going back to grassroots because I believe that grassroots is actually where the power holds, where the power is. Let's take a look at 2023 and the obedient movement and how it went forward. People will argue that it was very, very big on social media and that was what pushed it. The youth, that's where they live, stay, pray, eat, and everything. Now you have the Kwankwaso movement, which could be considered a bit strong when it comes to grassroots. Northern politics is often so. But the question now is how you're going to align those two dynamics. If the obedient movement didn't work in 2023 because of the concept behind it being a movement on social media, what is being done to make sure that doesn't reoccur again in 2027? How are you going to move that from online to actual advocacy? What are you going to do? I keep talking about mechanisms because there's a certain lack of it when it comes to Nigerian politics.
People keep talking about this online of, say, 4 people tweeting, whatever in the room. But that is a wrong perspective, you know. My vote came in as a Lagos State DG. Where I got my votes was even from the grassroots. I can tell you from the whole 20 local government where the chunk of vote came out from.
Well, I don't think I was done with the concept I was building. Now, this online concept, however strong or not strong you call it, you might think of it, is something that you'd see in the South, what's it called, Southeast mostly, and the South-South.
South-South.
When it comes to the North, it's a very different ball game. They're not strong online. So how are you going to align these two very different dynamics when it comes to the mechanism with which they work that backs the movements or the identities, whether it's Kwankwaso with stronger grassroots or whether it's Obi with stronger online?
And that's the thing you should understand. In football game, you have the strikers, you have the defense. You can't have a attacker to say all you need to do is to score. While you're scoring, you got to defend, right? So in this same grassroots you're talking about, the strength they are bringing in, the Kwankwaso movement, we've seen that they are organic. What brings us together first is that both movement are organic. They're not just people that comes on this online with rhetoric to say we're tweeting. They are organic. They believe. It will shock you that a market woman they sell on the street of Lagos market, they're obedient. They'll tell you I'm obedient because they like the fact that we can still find this kind of human being in Nigeria. We can still find this kind of people that really want a positive change for Nigeria. Likewise in the northern part too. If you go there, hardly will you find any house in the northern part, mostly Kano, Jigawa and Katsina, that you will not find the logo of the Kwankwaso. You can see from, if you look at the screen, look at what is this is what's called organic movement. These are not movement you paid for. They are people that genuinely believe that with these people, with these 2 parts, Nigeria can change. Nigeria can be transformed from where we are, from the suffering we are going through today. And to tell you what, Obi is someone that has the passion for these same people we are talking about, the locals, the grassroots. That is the kind of person he is.
I want to push back on that. You know, you had talked about how almost in every house in the north that you will see a symbol of the Kwankwaso movement. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar doesn't seem to agree with you. He believes that he pulls in more influence than Tambowal, than Rabiu Kwankwaso. So he, of course, would make reference to the fact that there seems to be an alleged split between Kwankwaso and Ganduje, and that may have divided the influence that Kwankwaso wields and that he wields more influence. How do you respond to this? Okay,
for us, we'll do our teamwork. We believe in data analysis. We don't just talk based on what anybody says. Anybody can tell you, look, somebody, I have a friend, Showore, you know the show very well. He can come on there that is one of the most popular person in Nigeria based on his citizens, as an activist, whatever. But if you walk through the street of Kano today, the street of Katsina, if you begin to question 5, 6 people that, put the bar there, I can tell you, these are data that we've been able to carry out, statistics we're able to do and get a positive result. That look, Kwankwaso is a force. It's a big force in the northern part of Nigeria, whether you like it or not.
No, we're not disagreeing with that.
I'm not here to defend what Alhaji Atiku Abubakar said. I said earlier on, he's a good politician. He's fit enough to become president at his age. Otherwise, we would have said, okay, we want someone like him. But Nigeria is yearning for somebody that is of lower age today, that have that mental capability, that have that strength.
Now, let's come back to today's Nigeria, looking at the way things are what is your offering and what should be, what's priority policies for the OK movement?
What we are offering the people on also?
No, what issues should be priority, looking at the current country?
State of things.
Yeah.
Like I said, first thing that we'll know for now that is hitting Nigeria is security. Security is a core problem that we all need to tackle onset. And Peter Obi has said that, look, I would declare Nigerian security as state of emergency. That means onset, as I'm going to the office, what I want to do now is to sort out once and for all this security issue. I remember very well, Senator Rabiu was one-time defense minister. And if you go back to his era, you can fact-check that again. The kind of security threat we have in Nigeria was at its lowest level as to what we have today. And that alone tells you that a man of that capacity can improve Nigerian security, which is one of the biggest issues that is affecting all the whole chains downward. The security problems that we have today, the government of today have not been able to resolve it. They don't have an idea. They don't have a clue to resolving it. All we hear today, I was watching one of the clip that our president went to Jos at the airport to meet the victim. At the airport, telling them I've got only 10 minutes. In 10 minutes time, there will be no electricity. And that's not true. The law says when the president is, if Bola Ahmed is flying here, President Bola Tinubu is flying here today to stay in this street, there must be power 247 light, there must be communication set up for him.
Okay. I think my final question would be regarding what happens if we don't see an Obi Kwankwaso leadership in the ADC. If they do not get the presidential ticket, if they do not become the flag bearers for the ADC. We've seen Alhaji Atiku Abubakar say if there's a consensus candidate, he's willing to step aside. Recently in an interview, I think on the 13th of April, His Excellency Peter Obi granted an interview on Arise Television, and in that interview he did say, you know, they had asked him about why he's been moving from ABGA to PDP to Labour Party to the ADC, basically criticizing him, which is what Bayo Onanuga doubled down on when he called him opportunistic and inconsistent. And the answer, many interpreted it as him stating that, you know, you can't be expecting me to use the same systems that don't work anymore to effect something new. So what happens if another candidate emerges within the ADC? Do you think Peter Obi would show his support, or do you see him moving to another political party?
Like I said, I'm not here to speak for His Excellency Peter Obi. I'm here to tell Nigerians that we have a better option for them. And this is, for now, if you accept by tomorrow, somebody else emerges from somewhere, from nowhere, from the moon. But presently in Nigeria, you can agree with me, there is no one of the politicians that can come out and tell you, check me on this is what I've done, this is what I'm going to do. None. And I said, Nigeria understand that, look, for a man that has come out to tell you, I've been able to do this while I was a governor, I was able to do A, B plus C, and Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso have done the same too. No governor in Nigerian history, except Peter Obi and the late President Dua, that have left money in the coffers of the states while they are living. That's enough for you to understand that the whole people we have today here are just jokers. What we are telling Nigeria, we have a better option for you that will change the narrative, that will change the problem we are facing today. Like I'm telling you, both of us here all understand what we're going through, except otherwise. We all know what the economy is telling us today. I mean, you know, I know, he buys for it.
He flies in from abroad every morning.
Can you see what I'm talking about?
I was hoping real quick how to address the issue with coalitions managing diversity. These two personalities are very different. But we're out of time, unfortunately. But that was a very big question.
We'll have time for that some other time.
Some other time, yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
The OK movement. We will continue the conversations. Like he said, OK movement has come to say, stop fighting. Nigerian people and government, we have an alternative for you. And we'll see how well that plays out for them. But let's continue the conversations this morning and share with you what's coming up next. Coming up next on Breakfast Central, PDP zonal leaders prepare for interim takeover amid Anyanwu leadership standoff. NBC cracks down on broadcast breaches, rolls out fresh directives. Vice President Shatima, federal government delegation, honor Elumelu's father-in-law. Please stay with us.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. The People's Democratic Party is facing yet again another tense showdown as zonal leaders of the party allegedly preparing for hostile interim takeover, according to reports. At the heart of this storm is the Samuel Anyanwu leadership standoff, as a crisis in the party took a dramatic turn with zonal chairmen of the party signaling their readiness to assume interim national leadership should the courts uphold the expulsion of National Secretary Senator Samuel Anyanwu and nullify key conventions tied to the actions.
So as rival factions continue to trade legal blows, several zonal leaders, they are prepared to invoke the doctrine of necessity to prevent a total leadership vacuum. So does this move by the zonal leaders safeguard the party, or does it further deepen its internal crisis? Well, these are questions that we have. And joining us to have this discussion is PDP National Publicity Secretary Jongudo Haruna. Mr. Haruna, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Studio, good morning.
Grand.
Thank you for joining us from our Abuja studio. Now, your party claims the March 2026 convention settled the question of leadership crisis in the party, but some would argue that the appeal court's previous suspension of Anyanwu still haunts his credibility. Is the PDP operating under, uncertain waters in this season?
Well, I don't know where you're getting your information. These are quite misleading that there are a group of Southwest zonal chairmen trying to take over leadership of the party, or that there's a court of appeal judgment that expel or suspend whichever one Senator Samuel Anyanwu. I don't know where you're getting your information, and I think it is very, very important that you contextualize information very, very clearly and very, very well before coming to public. As far as we are concerned, crisis in the PDP is almost 95% over, with the exception that there's a Supreme Court hearing this week. Otherwise, I can tell you 100% the crisis in the party is over.
Why did you, what makes you say this categorically, that the crisis in the party is over? Do you think Mr. Saminu Turaki will agree with the statement you're making?
Well, it is not for him to agree or not to agree. What is most important is what is the position of the law and what is the position of INEC and what is the position of the majority of loyal, law-abiding party members. Basically, this recent issues that has been making rounds in the media space that Anyanwu, there's a court that upheld the suspension or expulsion of Samuel Anyanwu. Let me just take you to the issues at hand. There's a judgment by the Federal FCT High Court which dismissed a suit filed by Senator Samuel Anyanwu. What is most important and what should be taken note of is that when you look at the originating summons and the reliefs sought therein, there was nowhere mentioned in those reliefs that Senator Samuel Anyanwu was asking the court to quash or to set aside his expulsion or his suspension. Simply, Sita, what Senator Samuel Anyanwu asked the court to do was to set aside, or he was merely challenging the composition of the Tom Ikimi National Disciplinary Committee of the party. He was also asking that the court should set aside the proceedings of that particular committee. And what was that committee? What was the mandate? The committee was set up in 2024, inaugurated, I think, 21st August 2024. They submitted their report in the first quarter of 2025. The NWC of the party never sat down to consider, affirm, or validate the recommendation of that committee. This is because the committee was a committee of 26 people membership, and Chapter 10, Article 57, Sub 1 of the PDP Constitution provides that, and a mandatory provision, that the disciplinary committee shall consist of only 7 people. So having regard to the composition of about 26 people, the NWC jettisoned everything about that Tom Ikimi disciplinary committee. So I am wondering when, where, and at what time did the PDP, NWC, or NEC of the party affirmed, suspended or expelled Senator Samuel Anyanwu. I look at the advertorial placed by Chris Uche, SAN, writing a letter to INEC. I think Chris Uche was only being clever by half. He attached the judgment of the FCT as an annexure. He equally annexed one other document, I can't remember. But what he failed to do is he ought to have first show us or inform INEC that go to so page of the judgment, go to so paragraph of the judgment, and this is where the court clearly affirmed the expulsion or suspension of Senator Samuel Anyanwu. He didn't do that. He equally failed to annex the reports of the recommendation of Tom Ikimi, or he equally failed to attach or annex the resolution affirming the suspension or expulsion of Senator Samuel Anyanwu by the NWC or NEC of the party. This is so because there is nowhere in the judgment, anywhere in the paragraphs or pages, that affirmed the decision to expel or uphold the recommendation of Tom Ikimi. And there was no any report whatsoever that Chris Uche could really take it as a document to substantiate his claim. He only drew the attention of the court, the INEC, that this is the judgment, and that is all. And what may interest you to know is that in 2025, March to be precise, 21st, the Supreme Court has gave a landmark judgment which reinstated Senator Samuel Anyanwu as the National Secretary of the party. It was after that judgment that Governor Bala Mohammed and the other governors, Damagu and the rest, went to INEC to meet the then chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who in clear terms explained and told them the position of INEC that without Senator Samuel Anyanwu, your party cannot function. And all of them agreed with that position, agreed with the judgment of the Supreme Court, and continued to allow Senator Samuel Anyanwu to function as the National Secretary of the party. So now, if Anyanwu was suspended in 2024, or if he was expelled in 2024 by Tom Ikimi panel, or if there was any affirmation, why then did Damagun and his co-travelers as at then further expel or suspended Senator Samuel Anyanwu in November 1, 2025? Why didn't they go ahead, or went ahead rather, to further expel Senator Samuel Anyanwu at the Amala Convention in Ibadan that same November? This goes to tell you that this their assertion is completely illogical, it is immaterial, it cannot be substantiated by any facts, and it is just an aim to create confusion where there is no confusion. I hope you get the facts of the matter.
I just want to clarify. Did you say, you made reference to a court judgment in March? Can you please re-highlight that again?
The court judgment in March 21st, 2025, I am making reference to a Supreme Court judgment where Senator Anyanwu appealed the decisions of the Court of Appeal Enugu, upholding his removal as the substantive National Secretary of the party. So the Supreme Court said no, you cannot, the court did not agree with the majority decision of the Court of Appeal. Instead, it stated that that suit on its own, right from the Federal High Court, was not justiciable. The court lacked the jurisdiction to entertain that suit. Okay. And therefore, they passed everything and reinstated Anyanwu as the National Secretary of the party in March 25.
Mr. Haruna, thank you very much for that clarification. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. However, when we come back, I really want to ask you, as the National Publicity Secretary, certain structural questions regarding the PDP, but only when we get back. Do stay with us. And you're welcome back. It's still Breakfast Extra, and before the break, we were with, and still are with, the PDP National Publicity Secretary, Jongodo Haruna. Mr. Haruna, thank you very much for staying with us. Correction there. Breakfast Central. I'm used to being on Breakfast Extra. But, sir, while I have you back, thank you very much. Now, I'm going to take you back to your first remark when you were answering our first question here. You pointed and noted very many issues regarding fact gathering by broadcasters and also how the public interprets whatever's going on inside of the PDP. But as National Publicity Secretary, maybe you should tell us exactly what leadership structures are currently now. And not just that, but also how exactly this authority is being maintained within the party so that it ensures communication, whether within the party and outside of the party.
Well, sitting here is the National Publicity Secretary of the party, duly recognized by INEC and duly recognized by law. So Abdurrahman Mohammed is the national chairman of the party, and you are aware of this. Your station covered at the national convention of the party. And it surprises me to see that a man of the standing of High Chief Chris Uche, claiming that the PDP authorized him to write to INEC, asking that the INEC should derecognize Senator Samuel Anyanwu. Where did Chris Uche derive that power and the authority? Who briefed him to write on behalf of the PDP? It is most shocking, it is most unfortunate that a senior advocate could descend so low into doing that. The present and recognized, duly recognized national legal advisor of the PDP is Mr. Ajibade SAN. And Mr. Ajibade has never authorized Chris Uche to write to INEC on anything. This was the same scenario that played out at the Federal High Court, where Chris Uche claimed to have been briefed by the PDP. Unfortunately, it was argued and the court found rightly that he was never briefed by the PDP. This is the same thing he is doing today, going to the press, writing a letter to INEC on behalf of the PDP. Who said that? Go to INEC website, write under Freedom of Information, ask for a certified true copy of who are the rightful leadership of the PDP. INEC will oblige you the information. So it is most shocking, and that is why I am saying media houses ought to have verified their facts, fact-check certain things, do what is called investigative journalism, so that they will get to understand and get to know what kind of stories they need to peddle out or push out on the media space. So in the present circumstance, I think the general public should completely disregard, discountenance anything said by Mr. Chris Uche, and I call on INEC to also disregard that. And if possible, the legal body in charge of disciplinary measures should take action on Chief Chris Uche for becoming, do I say, an interloper, or I don't even know.
So thank you for that clarification. So now that we have this clarification here on ground, but with the risks of zonal leaders saying that they might take over just to, well, help against a vacuum, where does that put the internal structure of the PDP if this should happen regarding factionalization?
I don't even know what you mean by zonal leaders. Who are the zonal leaders? What are their names? Where are they coming from? The PDP held zonal congresses. We have the Northeast, who has been attended, the chairman of the Northeast, the zonal vice chairman, Northeast, North Central, South-South, Southeast, Southwest. They are all in our midst. It is only Northwest that we will soon, I think NEC will approve the new caretaker that will oversee the activities of the Northwest zone of the party. So who are these zonal or sectional or whatever name you call them that want to come and take over the party? They are free. The secretariat has been open after a valid court judgment. We have been operating. We are going to hold our 108th NEC meeting today by 2 p.m. at Wadata Plaza. So I cannot understand where you got this information.
Okay. I'd like to come in.
To take over the party.
I'd like to come in here. You did mention at the beginning of the show that the PDP is now 95% settled, barring the Supreme Court's judgment, which will be held later this week. You've also said there will be a meeting, NEC meeting, the 108 today at the Wadata Plaza. Knowing that we're slowly inching towards the 2027 elections and your party held sway for 16 years, one of the biggest political parties in Africa, the People's Democratic Party, what are some of the issues you'll be discussing at the NEC meeting today? And is the PDP, your party, going to field a presidential candidate in next year's elections? Because we've been hearing speculations that your party might adopt President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a consensus candidate. Would you like to speak to us on that and clarify the issues?
Yes. What will happen this week at the Supreme Court is not judgment, to the best of my knowledge. Last week, it was an application for accelerated hearing, which was granted, and the court adjourned for this week, Wednesday, for hearing of an adoption of the substantive matter. I don't know if the Apex Court will choose to deliver a judgment to this week or next week. I don't know. But what will surely happen this week is hearing of the substantive matter. And part of the things that will be discussed and resolved today in today's NEC meeting are issues bordering or are issues in preparations for the primary conduct of primary elections for the party. So I so much believe that the NEC will approve the timetable for the conduct of primaries, cost of sales of nomination forms, amongst other critical issues that will be tabled before the NEC. And the issue of whether we will field a presidential candidate or not, I don't think the PDP is operating a system where it is not national. We will field a presidential candidate from the timetable that will be approved by NEC today. You will see the cost of nomination form for presidential election. So we are not going to support any presidential candidate other than that who emanate from the PDP primaries come 2027. So I don't also know where people are getting reports that the PDP is not going to field any presidential candidate. The position of the Honorable Minister has always been his own position. When you go to Wadata Plaza today, you cannot find any office being allocated for the Honorable Minister of the FCT. All offices and the leadership and the chain of command comes directly from the national chairman, Honorable Abdurrahman Mohammed Takushara, and other members of the NWC. So the NWC is an organ saddled with the responsibilities of, handling the day-to-day affairs of the party. And at no time, and we never, at no time, ever agreed that we will support any candidate from any political party. We have never held any alliance talk with ADC. We have never done that with APC. We will not do that. And if there should be any, then it is we, as the mother of all opposition political parties today in Nigeria, open our door for political parties like ADC, who have in the recent past been engulfed in crisis that only God knows when they will come out of it. And let me use this opportunity to tell them that the PDP is wide enough, the umbrella is big enough to take all of them. Should there be need for them to jettison the ADC based on its current form, they should look into the PDP. We will accommodate them with a view to saying that we wrestle power from the APC come 2027.
Mr. Chukwunka, I think you would see where that question comes from, because you say that there is no office in Wadata Plaza assigned to the Minister of the FCT, but you cannot deny the amount of influence that the FCT Minister wields within the People's Democratic Party. Judging from the last convention that happened and all the drama that has led the PDP up to where it is, where the PDP now says that 95% of its troubles are over. If the minister, who is a member of the PDP, openly supports the APC, the president, who is a member of the APC, and has clearly said it regarding 2027, that his support is behind the president who is the leader of the APC, don't you think that this might in some way lead to some form of conflict, and that when people are are saying, or when your party is saying that they are going to organize primaries for the elections, that it feels a little performative and figurative as opposed to practical?
Well, I still maintain my position and the position of the party. We have stakeholders like Alhaji Sule Lamido, who was denied the right to purchase nomination form for National Convention election preparation. Then, was it Minister Wike that refused to sell nomination form for Alhaji Sule Lamido? So I can tell you that we have a number of stakeholders who are very much concerned about the way things were handled under the Damagun leadership. And they resisted their grounds and said, no, it wasn't only the minister. And if assuming it was only the minister, those things the minister was canvassing for, was pushing so much, are they things that were aimed at strengthening the party or destroying the party? People need to get the facts of those matters. People need to get to the root of the issues around the PDP. There's so much propaganda by the Kabiru Tanimu group. Their stock in trade is always propaganda. How could you have gone for a convention where 14 states had no valid substantive ESCOs? Meaning you are going to disenfranchise 14 states. And if there is any offense the minister had committed, it was his ground that these 14 states must be allowed to participate in that convention. Where did he go wrong in this case? And the court simply said, go and do these congresses in 14 states before you proceed with the convention.
All right.
The Kabiru group refused and proceeded.
All right.
So where did the minister go wrong in this case?
If you can, we're done with this conversation in 30 seconds. The FCT minister has urged the party leaders, the NWC, to go back and, speak to and woo the party members who have left before and welcome back to the PDP. Most recent being the former governor of Kano State, who has left your party as well. Do you see the possibility of this happening, seeing that a lot of them have settled properly into the ADC and other political parties? Do you see the former members leaving, coming back, and how important is this for your party? As quickly as you can.
The position of the minister clearly tells you that he is passionate and he has interest in the PDP, asking us to go and woo aggrieved people back into the party. And for those who had left, if you are in ADC, I can technically tell you that you are not even sure if you have a platform to run an election. So those who had left, we are telling them, let me use the opportunity, please come back. Leave that party that is in crisis today. Leave uncertainties and come to where there is certainty. We can do that. We can get them, and we are reassuring them that, yes, we have put behind all the issues behind us, and we are working and looking forward to having a well-restructured and organized PDP. We know we have erred, we know we have done so many things, we have disappointed Nigerians, but we are pleading with Nigerians to give us the opportunity once again to see what we can do to better their lives.
Well, the coming months will determine if your appeal to Nigerians will work. The National Publicity Secretary, Jungudo Haruna, the National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central, and we certainly wish the PDP all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. We're going to break. When we return, we still have more political conversations to X-ray. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to order the withdrawal of a directive issued by the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, describing it as unlawful and a threat to press freedom. This following a warning by the NBC to television broadcasters and anchors over alleged rising cases of unprofessional conduct, including bullying guests, expressing personal opinions as facts, denying fair hearing, and compromising neutrality. The Commission stated that it would enforce strict compliance with the Nigerian Broadcasting Code, particularly on issues of fairness, balance, accuracy, and respect for human dignity, especially in the political and sensitive discussions.
However, Amnesty International, SERAP, and others have argued that the directive is vague, it's unconstitutional, and it amounts to prior censorship, warning it could suppress legitimate journalism and also critical reporting ahead of 2027 elections. SERAP has given the federal government a 48-hour ultimatum to reverse the directive or they face legal action. So to discuss this development, we're joined here in the studio with us, Ikechukwu Amechi. He is the chief editor of the Niche newspaper. Ikechukwu, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Nice to have you, Mr. Amechi.
Thank you, Mazino.
I wanted to ask the first question, but I'll let ladies go first.
I mean, you're
so
a
that means
seasoned,
big guy, by the way.
of course. Thank you very much for that. You're a seasoned journalist, so I'm sure that getting this, and you know that this is not new. It almost happens every election cycle. NBC released the directives guiding how journalists direct or how journalists facilitate conversations. But as a veteran journalist yourself, how did this come across to you?
I'm afraid only if you are bullying me.
Please, oh.
I'm afraid you are intimidating me by asking me questions this morning.
Wow,
Well,
that's shade for...
You know, I think it was 2 weeks ago that we discussed this same issue on this table when we were talking about Minister Wike's threat that if he had his way, that he would have shot through the television to get through to a channel's anchor because of the question he asked and because of the way he framed the question. So, like our people say, the witch cried in the night and the baby died in the morning. So 2 weeks after that threat, which was, by the way, roundly condemned by almost everybody, the NBC is coming out with this policy, which is frowning at anchors of programs and journalists acting, bullying and intimidating their guests. Look, it doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense. And why this government continues to do the things they do and think that Nigerians will go to sleep and not hold them accountable, it beggars belief. Look, and I'm not a lawyer, but I will go straight to Section 22 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended outlines the obligation of the mass media. It states, the press, radio, television, and other agencies of the mass media shall at all times be free to uphold the fundamental objectives contained in this chapter and uphold the responsibility and accountability of the government to the people. That is the primary responsibility of the media. Of course, that is why it is called the fourth estate of the realm. The media must be able to hold the feet of government to the fire of accountability. If it can't do that, then it has no reason whatsoever to exist. Beyond Section 22, Section 39 of the 1999 Constitution as amended also guarantees the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression, and the freedom to hold opinion. It didn't say because you are a journalist or because you are a television anchor that you cannot have an opinion. And again, as a journalist, even for you to ask questions to your guests, you must have what we call in education, they call it entry behavior. You have to background the question in order to make yourself clear so that the person you are putting the question to is not under any illusion whatsoever what you are asking. You leave no room for ambiguity so that the person will understand. If you don't background your question, which of course, and what they are calling opinion in this case, how on earth could NBC say that journalists should not have an opinion? How? Even at that, 2 weeks ago, we didn't even say, let us go back to that Shehu Okimbaloye issue. What he was saying was not even an opinion, it was a statement of fact. And there's a difference between an opinion and a statement of fact. Okay, yesterday, the World Bank or so released a statement which said about 39 billion that could not be accounted for in the way the Nigerian government spent money. Now, all manner of people, I think the Minister of State for Finance has come out to debunk that and to contradict the World Bank. But the truth of the matter is that how can a journalist not ask questions on that?
Okay.
So that if you ask the minister or any other person that kind of question, you now have an opinion, you are not bullying the person, you are not intimidating the person for which you or your station will be sanctioned. Where this government will take Nigerians to, they are here to tell us.
All right, let's bring in the Nigerian Union of Journalists. We're joined by the National Secretary of the NUJ, Achike Chude. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. You'll be joining us virtually. Let's get your thoughts about this new well, maybe not necessarily new, but this directive that has been reissued by the National Broadcasting Commission. How do we balance the need for professional broadcasting standards with, this directive that has been issued out by the NBC?
Well, I was listening to my friend Amechi Sete on this matter, and then everything he has said is quite flawless in terms of the provisions of the Constitution, in terms of the issue of freedom of expression, in terms of the need to hold the constitutionality of holding an opinion, even for journalists. We must not forget, that we are talking about maybe an NBC regulation, for instance, because they are also obviously laying credence to their own regulation. But there's also a higher regulation, and that is the constitutional regulation that Ike Amechi talks about, and that is higher. You can see, for instance, even in the context of the democratization process in this country, when you look at INEC guidelines, for instance, the courts have told us that the Electoral Act is superior to INEC's guideline. But above the Electoral Act is the Constitution that is superior to the Electoral Act itself, because everything derives from the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the right to hold an opinion is a constitutional right that should not be interfered with. After all, we could say if the NBC is talking about the opinion of individual journalists, they might as well push the frontier and say that media organizations should not have an editorial policy, and they should not have, an editorial opinion that talks about anything that's of interest to them, politics or whatever it is. They talk about that, they take a position, because it's also the same kind of thing that they shouldn't have that expression. So if you're talking about the need for balance, in this instance, what balance are we talking about? What have the journalists, if they look, there are so many mechanisms to use and bring an erring, what you feel an erring journalist to order. There are organizations, media-related organizations that you can lay your complaints to. After all, when I think the Daily Trust and then one other media organization had issues some time ago, the Nigerian government, the federal government reported to some of these organizations, and they looked into the matter. You know, so when you now come out and you say you give a directive, that directive must be in consonance with the laws of this country, with the constitution of the country. And besides, we should also remember that the courts in Nigeria have had cause to rebook the NBC for imposing fines on the media houses for maybe the actions of their staff in holding an opinion or in moving in a particular direction in terms of what they were trying to say and what they are trying to do. And they say you do not have such a right. You know, and so I don't know what balance you are because the journalists themselves are aware of what is needed from them. When they step out of line, you can be sure that their bodies, the various bodies, also have a capacity to deal with them and to call them to order. And so what the government agency or parastatal like the NBC needed to do is that if there are specific instances, and that's why what they did was just to issue a blanket a statement of condemnation of the media in general, and they maybe use what they feel is the actions of a few to judge the many. But even these actions of a few, how wrong are they? Because they are acting in consonance with the constitution of the country. You know, so like I said, they should be very well aware that things have to be done properly, and this is not about politics. Because what people are now saying is that they are being used for political, to drive a political narrative. You know, they are basically, the part of the government that they are working for, that they are serving.
Okay.
And we journalists, I mean, the media will not allow that, will not tolerate that, because we know that implicit in the responsibilities given to the media by the Constitution is the need to protect our democracy. Because the point has often been made that if you want to determine the level of freeness of a democracy, or the level of a democracy, first of all, look at the media and determine its freeness. If the media is relatively free, then you can say that that democracy is relatively free. There is a duty and a responsibility to hold government officials accountable. So when government officials now turn around to try to hold the media accountable, it's a misnomer and it's a contradiction.
Thank you very much, Mr. Achike Chude. I'd like to come back to the studio and pose this question to Mr. Ikechukwu Amechi. You've been practicing journalism for quite a long time. You did even under the military rule. Nigeria is currently in its 26th year of uninterrupted democratic experience, and it seems that we've not been able to shed some of that military hangover, because Amnesty International described this circular by the NBC as authoritarian and unconstitutional in its unrelenting quest to silence journalists. These are very strong words and high condemnation, and it has led many people to, compare it to the times of Decree 4 of 1984. That are we heading back towards those dark days? You remember the case of Undukai Rabo and Tunde Thompson, where they said that truth was not a defense. They went to jail for publishing a true story. They said Tunde Thompson and Undukai Rabo were jailed for a year for publishing a true story about diplomatic postings. So because they embarrassed the government there. So what are the guardrails that exist today, and what do we need to do so we don't go back to those dark days?
Unfortunately, the guardrails are being dismantled bit by bit. And this directive of the NBC is part of that process of deliberate, systematic dismantling of the guardrails. And the irony of the whole thing is that there are also some Nigerians that even feel that Nigerian journalists are not even doing enough, are not holding the government accountable enough. That was why when Daniel Boala went to Al Jazeera and was roasted, people were saying this is how to be a journalist. Because they were saying that Nigerian journalists don't drill this.
I think the NBC would have thought that was badgering.
Exactly. There's a school of thought in this country that believes that Nigerian journalists are giving these guys
An easy ride, yeah.
Free pass to do what they like, yet the politicians are not satisfied. The truth of the matter is that, and unfortunately, these are people who rode on the back of the efforts of journalists to get to where they are today. These are people who were characters, who were created by the same media as exemplars of democracy icons and all that. These are people who also own media houses. The president himself alone is a media proprietor. He owns a television house, he owns a newspaper organization.
And radio.
His SA Media was my publisher in those days. So how these people, and I know the kind of stories we are doing and how effective we were in holding government to account in those days. So for these same people now to be in government and they don't want any kind of scrutiny whatsoever, it beggars belief. So, Benga, going back to your question, anybody who has the feeling that these guys are taking us back to the dark era of military rule is not far from the truth.
A reincarnation of Decree 4.
It's not far from the truth. Because what else is there? Do you know how many journalists have been arrested? They are using all kinds of cybercrime laws, all kinds of laws to ensure that the journalist, average Nigerian journalist, does not practice his trade as guaranteed, not only by the Nigerian Constitution, but even the African Charter. I think Article 9 of the African Charter on Human Rights also guarantees freedom of expression, also guarantees the right of the people to hold opinion. Even the UN, Article 19 of the UN guarantees that. So how on earth does the Nigerian government think it can roll back all these rights, fundamental rights, guaranteed by not only the Nigerian Constitution, but by conventions that we are signatory to? All they are doing is to avoid scrutiny as we go into 2027 elections. But it won't happen because the costs are there, and Nigerians are prepared to go to courts to challenge the legality of this frivolous.
Thank you, Mr. Amechi. Let me come to Mr. Achike, who's online with us. Mr. Achike, I was wondering what you think about timing, not just timing, but also trust. Let's take a look at public institutions like INEC, for instance. There seems to be a certain big trust deficit when it comes to the public. It would seem that that's kind of like what we're discussing here when it comes to the NBC, when we look at the timing from what just happened, if we're going to use the sample from what Mr. Amechi gave from his earlier response to this communique that has been put out. What do you think when it comes to trust broadcasters might have, or even the public, what they have for the NBC with this release? How has that affected how they see the NBC? Your personal take here.
It's simple. The answer is simple. Go and look at the reaction to this particular problem on social media, Twitter, and everywhere. The reaction of Nigerians and what they are tying it to. You know, of course, they are tying it to the situation of the moment, that is a preparation towards the 2027 election. And so when and then this thing is just happening, while the crisis of, the enveloping the INEC chairman, continues to unfold on a daily basis. The infamous decision they took to exclude the political party from the, at least for now, from the electoral process, delisting them from their portal, even though they had been part of the activities of this political party, in this case, this is the ADC for quite some time. And so these are the things that are weighing in the minds of Nigerians. And so credibility of government institutions are very, very important, because Nigeria is notorious for ensuring interference, the electoral process by the government of the day. And so it is not a good one for the NBC. Like I said, the responses we give you an idea where Nigerians stand on this. And look, Nigeria is at a low point when it comes to the issue of the perception of institutions by Nigerians. Most institutions in the country, for instance, do not have very favorable rating when it comes to the Nigerian average Nigerian. The courts are no longer seen as places where they can get justice. The INEC is seen as an appendage of a government, and this has been going on for quite some time. The police institutions, especially the security institutions, when it comes, to the period of election, are seen again as appendages of the government.
Mr. Chike, but just a second, because we're out of time.
When it comes,
I wanted you to get specifically to one area here. Where exactly does the NBC, because they are vested with the important responsibility of regulating broadcast, but where does that breach into the rights of the broadcaster with the communication that we've just gotten?
Well, when they no longer look at the law, the provisions of the law, it's simple. The fact that Nigerians are complaining and people are talking about it is that Nigerians themselves perceive and see that the law has been breached. The law, fundamental law that guarantees the right of expression. That's one. And the fact that the courts have weighed in on very critical issues concerning the actions of the NBC in the past, reversed those decisions by the NBC to tell them that they must act in conformity with the laws of the land. And then is the politics. The issue is that something else is driving this position that the NBC is suddenly taking, and it is not in the interest of the NBC in terms of the perception that Nigerians have of them. But it shows desperation, perhaps, on the part of the government that things are perhaps beginning to get out of their control. Because I don't see why they should be. The president keeps on talking about the need for the press to do its work. And he keeps on saying in the past, he's talked about how the press has lambasted him and that he has not interfered. In fact, he has beaten his chest a few times to say that he has not interfered with the press. The Minister of Information has also said so, that at no time has the president given directive that they should interfere with the freedom of the media. And so these are good, but it's not just about saying them, it's about practicalizing them. And so what Nigerians have seen through this latest action of the NBC is that what the NBC is doing is at variance with what the president says and the Minister of Information says. So we hope that they are not going rogue, when it comes to what way, are they acting out their own script? Are they acting as somebody else's script? But either way, whatever script they are acting out is not in conformity with the laws of the land. Is not in conformity with the mandate given to the media to ensure that public officials are held to account. It is as simple as that.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us and bringing the updates regarding this. We'll continue to follow up again to also feel the pulse and see how journalists are reacting to this. Thank you for joining us. And thank you to Mr. Ikechukwu for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. We'll now go on a break. And when we return, we'll have the news. Breakfast Central will be read to us this morning. Please, breakfast headlines will be read to us this morning. Please stay with us.
Hello again and welcome to Breakfast Headlines. My name is Mazino Appeal. Now, we begin the news with security matters. Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia has received passengers rescued from a Benue Links bus where they were kidnapped along the Makodi-Utukwe Road. Now, the victims were abducted on April 15, but were later freed after coordinated operations involving multiple security agencies and local support. Authorities say 11 suspects have already been arrested in connection with the attacks as investigations continue. Governor Alia praised the swift response of security forces and ordered immediate medical care for the rescued passengers. He also called for support for affected students who missed their JAM exams, while security agencies intensify efforts to dismantle criminal networks in the state. Nigeria and Turkey have strengthened defense ties with a new agreement that will see 200 Nigerian special forces deployed for training in Turkey. The Minister of Defense, General Musa, disclosed this on the sidelines of the 5th Antalya Diplomatic Forum in Turkey. He said the agreement followed discussions with his Turkish counterpart, Yasar Gula. According to him, Turkey has allocated training slots for 200 Nigerian special forces personnel who are expected to be deployed after necessary preparations. The minister also revealed plans to deepen military cooperation through joint defense equipment production and the transfer of military technology. He added that Nigeria stands to benefit from Turkey's experience in counter-terrorism operations, as both countries face similar security challenges, including insurgency and asymmetric warfare. To education matters now, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board has released results for candidates who sat the 2026 UTME on April 17 and 18. The board says over 1.26 million results from the 2 days are now available for checking. It adds that when combined with earlier releases, nearly 1.9 million results have been made available so far. Candidates are advised to check their results by sending UTME result to 55019 or 66019 using their registered phone numbers. JAM says these releases cover the first 3 days of the nationwide examination exercise. And let's take a break. We'll continue in a minute. Tens of thousands of worshippers have gathered in Angola for a major open-air mass led by Pope Leo XIV. The event held in Quilamba, near Luanda, and it attracted pilgrims from across Angola and beyond, forming one of the largest Catholic gatherings in the region in recent years. The Pope delivered a message calling for unity, peace, and compassion as the faithful participated in prayers, hymns, and also cultural expressions reflecting Angola's religious heritage. Security and crowd management measures were enforced by authorities to ensure order throughout the large-scale gathering. The ceremony is being described by many attendees as a moment of deep spiritual renewal and national significance for the Catholic community. And Togo says it is stepping up efforts to support stability in the Sahel, positioning itself as a mediator between military-led governments in the region and the international community. The announcement comes as Lomé unveils a new strategy aimed at addressing growing insecurity across the Sahel. Foreign Minister Robert Dessay says Togo is ready to act as a bridge between Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, countries currently led by military governments and grappling with persistent jihadist violence and the wider international community. He says Togo will leverage its mediation experience and regional influence to promote dialogue, stability, and also cooperation. The move signals a broader diplomatic push by the country to play a more prominent role in resolving tensions and fostering engagement in one of Africa's most volatile regions.
Togo est prêt à mettre son expertise en médiation et son ancrage régional au service de la stabilité pour servir de pont entre le Sahel et l'ensemble de la communauté internationale. La nouvelle stratégie du Togo pour le Sahel n'est pas un simple document d'orientation, mais une main tendue et un cadre de collaboration formel.
Remember, you may send your eyewitness reports to the numbers being displayed on your screens currently, and of course, do follow us on social media. Breakfast Central continues. Do stay with us. We've got more conversation coming your way. We'll be back.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's time to review the front pages of the papers, and joining us to do this is globally recognized journalist who cannot be shut down by the NBC. Habib Haruna, thank you very much for joining us.
Morning.
You cannot be found to be in contravention because you are a seasoned senior veteran.
So
Why don't you guys just go ahead and paint a bullseye on his back?
No. You're not petty like that. It's great to have you.
Hope you had a great weekend. Good to have you.
Okay, let's get into the papers. I think we should start with the Nigerian Tribune. On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, terrorist reintegration plan. ADC warns Tinubu's government, says reintegration without justice is not reconciliation. Commuter dies of gunshot wound, 2 injured in kidnap attempt on Ijebu-Ode, Ibadan Road. Benue government wants JAMB to reschedule exam for 8 rescued UTME candidates. We're hearing that on the one hand. On the other hand, we're hearing that JAMB is saying that they're not, they're not students, they're not UTME candidates. Makinde Olubadan issue resolved. Ooh, is that true? Anyway, Atiku Serap oppose NBC advisory code. Scientists develop injection that heals heart after heart attack. Study says. SANU threatens indefinite strike after April 30th over lingering negotiation. Back to the square root. Of robbery, how federal DPP cleared Saraki, how bank recapitalization exposed hidden wealth, deep inequality. Federal government clears air on missing revenue claims, says World Bank report misread. Rising fuel energy costs drove Nigeria's inflation, experts say. Let's start with the big story. And just to mention before we get into the analysis of the story that the phone lines are officially open and the numbers to call are the numbers on your TV screen. We also will be taking your reactions via YouTube, where we're streaming live via News Central TV Live, so we'll be taking comments from there as well. And the first story we're looking at is the terrorist reintegration plan. So feel free to call in. The phone lines are officially open. ADC has warned President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government about reintegration plan. We've seen the de-radicalization and reintegration of terrorists being even advocated for, with those who say that, they are Nigerians, they are our brothers, but my mommy did not bomb boy. So the question, the question now is, your perspective on the reintegration of terrorists and the ADC's warning of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
I don't think it's only the ADC. First of all, ADC is the leading opposition party now in Nigeria. So anything they say is newsworthy.
So you don't agree with, you don't believe PDP is the leading one? PDP says
no.
95%
Let's be factual, let's be realistic. Based on facts.
PDP is based on past
that are very evident. No. The leading opposition party today in Nigeria is ADC. It's not arguable. And it's not only ADC that is sounding the alarm. Other people are sending the alarm. In fact, intelligence officers are sending the alarm that we don't give these people amnesty. That's not worked. And some are even saying that the best thing for terrorists is to send them to hell. You don't give them amnesty. You don't give them the opportunity to give them to the society, because it has never worked. They will still go back to their old ways. So I think ADC is in the right direction. What they are saying.
Why is it then that...
Because that never worked.
Why is it then that the United States Representative Riley Moore, in his report on the security and persecution of Christians in Nigeria, there was a component there that stated that, some of this terrorist elements should be rehabilitated and reintegrated into society. And also, just recently, there was a United Kingdom delegation that visited Nigeria, and it was also part of their recommendation. So the United States and the United Kingdom they might be seeing something that we're not seeing.
If you look at the history of terrorism in Nigeria, banditry terrorism in Nigeria, and the attempts that have been made severally by government to integrate them to the society, that never worked. That's what I'm saying. So they end up going back and
old habits
inflicting terror on Nigerians.
While we're going back to the past and you telling that it has never worked out, each time I hear amnesty, the first thing that comes to my mind is actually the Niger Delta militant case. I was wondering,
no, that never worked.
That seemed to have worked now, didn't it?
Niger Delta were not terrorists. Freedom fighters in quote, fighting for their right, fighting for the resources that was emanating from their backyard, and that they should be duly compensated. That was why they were fighting, and it has been resolved. They have been integrated, and it has worked. Some of them are even pilot. And unlike terrorists emanating in the northeast, especially with the amphitheater in Borno, These people will give them amnesty. They turn around to inflict the same havoc on them people, the Nigerians. So I don't think I will agree with that. I think ADC is right. ADC is sounding a lot of caution in the federal government that they should be very, very careful in the way they go about this granting amnesty.
Right. People. Just to mention, of course, this still centers around Operation Safe Corridor, and it did not begin with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Goes back to 2015 with President Buhari.
Correct.
You know, so the question is that some would say that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But the argument for this is that military power alone is not enough to solve Nigeria's insecurity challenges, which we now realize is Hydra-headed. But let's still, look at the front pages of the papers and take some more stories. Makinde Olubadan issue resolved. And this is, of course, talking about the issue of nominating a successor for
the royal fight, royal rumble.
Well, yeah. Well, like calling royal rumble, because typically what we see in Nigeria is that the governors, in a way, anoint their successors. But in this case, they were saying Sheyi Makinde is not in the position to anoint a successor. In fact, I forgot the name of this Fuji artist that was trending over the course of the weekend. I forgot his name. I'll look for it. He was trending over the course of the weekend.
Is it Wizkid?
No, it's a Fuji.
Chaido Shupa.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
My favorite.
Your favorite?
I love him.
He was trending over the course of the weekend because there were clips of him singing. And basically the argument was that Sheyi Makinde was not the one who was meant to anoint a successor, and that it is whoever the Olubadan anoints that becomes the
Are we not a democracy? When did we become, or are they operating?
I didn't realize that
in Oyo State, because I didn't realize that it was the, why are we bothering with voting?
In America,
INEC going to send sensitive electoral
the so-called
materials to Oyo
class
State?
democracy in America, who decides who rules. Yes.
So that means it's a waste of voting then.
But I told you before on this program that Ibadan is unique with its nature and character. In Ibadan, once you are leaving office, a year to the time you are leaving office, you become a lame dog. It's more pronounced in Ibadan. That is the nature of their politics. It's worse off now that you have an Olubadan who is a politician, former governor, former senator,
of the same
and very, very consequential in the state politics. Even before he became Olubadan, Ladoja left PDP, joined Accord Party. Accord Party became very, very powerful in the state. Yes, Accord Party defeated the ruling party in Ibadan North. Ibadan North is the most important local government you must win to become just the governor.
Yeah, but I will not mix
if you look at the other governors, look at Akala, look at even Ladoja, look at Jumobi, they have failed to anoint a successor. But people are very funny. They are very, very conscious. I've said it before here.
But shouldn't the traditional rulers stick to their traditional rules? Why are they being involved in politics?
You are too.
No, I'm just.
I don't want to describe you. Maybe you are just playing the
modern.
But politics is not telling you that this is what you should vote for. It's doing it implicitly. That this my guy, was my SSG, was my boy. And the president has given him that leverage.
I think he has a point there why he's asking the culture.
I know why Benga is asking this, because in the same breath, while you say that Ibadan politics is different and there's a way in which there's a consensus agreement, can that argument not also be applied to Rivers State to say there is a way in which, because the whole political structure, in a way, supports Godfatherism. So is it safe to say that...
In Nigeria or everywhere?
No, we are talking about Nigeria here. So if we are saying that it's okay for it to happen in Ibadan, then we shouldn't frown when it happens in Rivers State.
Godfatherism is something that you cannot erase from a democracy. From the Chicago warlords to New Hampshire. Look at New Hampshire. The governor's father was a governor. So no. His son became a governor. He's coming back now as a senator. So it's something that look at the Clintons, look at the Bush. So it's something that you cannot erase. But the fact remains that are the people deciding who govern them. Is the democracy representative? Are people responsible for deciding the fate of politicians? That should be our concern. It's not talking about Olubadan and the rest. Look, how about Lagos State? In Lagos State, the hegemony has been deciding who ruled the state for the past 24 years.
Okay.
Okay.
The hegemony have decided who do this state in the past 24 years. So what are we saying?
I don't want to.
That's democracy.
I don't want to press further and say what might be misconstrued as personal opinion.
I forget your Yoruba. Okay.
Speaking about that,
Now we get why he's so invested in this. It's okay. In any case, let's continue now. Nigerian Tribune, we still have this one here. You're a journalist, Ms. Aruna. So what did you think? Atiku Sara proposed NBC advisory code. We talked about this morning regarding the NBC communique that was put out regarding bullying on broadcast or opinion, letting and all of that. And we were taking very different opinions from our guests. And first of all, let me ask what yours is on that communique from the NBC.
No. I cannot be a party to a decision by any government.
It's not the government, it's a regulatory body.
But my friend, you cannot do without the Minister of Information. You cannot do without the government. By any government to come out from the blues, controlling what is going on in the media, be it print media or broadcast media. It does not work before, it will not work. You know why? This so-called directive is not above the Constitution of Nigeria. The Constitution of Nigeria is above any directive from any agency whatsoever. So I will expect those involved, the petitioners, to go to court, test it. We always win. So I don't think in the night of midnight of election, before elections, they're coming out with directives, controlling, muzzling journalists, telling them to be careful what they say, demanding their opinion. We know what happened now. We know what has been happening to Channel Television, what has been happening to Arise, some personalities, some anchormen in these organizations. So I don't think it's tidy. I think it's wrong, and I think it will backfire eventually. We've seen it before. But I will expect, you see, when the Secretary of War, Secretary of Defense in the U.S. accept bans on journalists from covering the Defense Department, right? New York Times went to court. That is against the Fourth Amendment, against the U.S. Constitution. And the court struck it out. So in Nigeria, I expect journalists to go out, challenge it, and it will not work. Not just sit there and criticize. Go to court, test it.
You're a journalist. We'll come after
absolutely.
you. We'll follow you.
You take the lead.
No, it's not possible.
On your mandate,
I mean, it's not possible. I'm decided to do it. But I think we should concern all of us. There should be no any attempt by any agency whatsoever to muzzle the operations and activities of journalists, be it print or broadcast.
All right, let's get into another paper and see if we can take the front page of the Guardian newspaper. And on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, you can see the big story there is about cyber attacks, election data at risk as hackers hold government agencies, banks to ransom. But you know, if you may continue with the Guardian.
Yes, indeed. Also here, Serap condemns censorship of broadcast stations by NBC. We saw that in the previous paper. And also terror alert, experts proffer measures to Nigerian airports' vulnerabilities. Systemic inefficiencies, cartel, maritime exploitations cost Nigeria $10 billion yearly.
Wow.
2027, Lagos APC warns LG chairman against endorsing aspirants. Which one of those would you like to go up on? That's you, Olive.
Okay, I don't know if we're done. Okay, I haven't taken the ones at the top. Let me still also take. Parents groan over rising cost of education as schools resume today. 55% of children in Nigeria unprotected from mosquito bites. 55% is not a good score. Federal government denies revenue mismanagement, tasks regional commissions, and Kwankwaso loses NNPP grip as Shekarau formally joins APC. So let's talk about that. Let's start with there. The former governor of Kano State, Ibrahim Shekarau, has moved, from the PDP and has now joined the APC. The PDP says 95% of its woes is over. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar says that Kwankwaso, we did have the that National Director General of the OK movement who is advocating for Obi and Kwankwaso's alliance. However, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has said that he wields more votes than Tambuwal, Kwankwaso and the likes because their votes are now divided in the Northern Bloc. So let's talk about the impact of all of this drama on Kwankwaso's influence and the possibility of what an alleged alliance between Kwankwaso and Obi will be.
You see, political party should be a vehicle to consummate your ascendancy. In other words, political party, they have responsibilities for picking the best candidate that are electable in any office. So the role of a party is not only to just be a vehicle for you to achieve your ambition. They should be mindful of what people are saying, mindful of the mood in the country, and the possible, their best bet. In ADC, for example, my opinion, that is my opinion, the best bet of ADC is Obi Kwankwaso.
Interesting.
Why? Because that is what we energize, animate the electorate. That is Obi Kwankwaso. Kwankwaso remains.
Can you define these electorates now? Can you define the makeup of these electorates, please? And define the makeup of these electorates and why you think that this union will work.
I can't hear you.
I said define the makeup of these electorates you so well trust and
see,
how this dynamic is going to work.
If you put
I'm very interested.
If you put an article there, the same old story. Article. Okay. You put an Obi there and Kwankwaso for the north, Obi south. People will be energized. People will want to see. Okay, let's see how it goes.
There are those who argue that this should have been a union that happened at the 2023 elections and that is a little too late.
Well, it's not late. It's never too late. It's not too late because the problem that we have in ADC is for them to come together and unite or support a ticket. Article is saying if we contest. Now this is the last time of contesting. I met you during the weekend when he met Obi. He said he will not stand up anybody. So they have a problem. In 2014, I was Sunday editor of Independent. The party, APC, implicitly agreed that Buhari is our best bet to the presidency. And they walk by the country, underground, and made it get the ticket.
So how can the ADC walk around the article?
They don't have a choice.
It's a lifelong ambition.
The article will win the primaries based on what is on ground now. Structure, the way APC is structured. But their best bet, if you look at what is going on in Kano, forget the Jekarao factor. Kwankwaso is very, very popular. I school in Kano.
Okay.
I have friends there.
Okay.
We spoke yesterday when Jekarao defected to APC. And they told me, Abib, go to sleep. Kwankwaso will let car people. They're everywhere.
At the risk of NBC saying this is opinion, I'm going to say that I think that this is a very good opportunity for Nigeria because it's bringing together regions that are, typically not known to be together. However, let's talk about the issue of diversity that it creates inside of the party and also when it comes to perception. How do you think that the ADC will be able to sim this together? And I'm using words very carefully here.
It will be difficult for them to come together if they don't have the right ticket. Vanatico is insisting that we contest and it gets it eventually. I can tell you for free. Good. That's my opinion.
So why is that Atiku dynamic different from that Kwankwaso?
No, because people want to see, people are interested in it. People are interested in it. If Obi did not get the ticket, if Obi is not the head of the ticket, but that's my personal opinion. And I've been on the street for a while. If it's not, you don't get the ticket with Kwankwaso backing him, they will not win that. The number will beat them silly. But Aso Rock will be afraid of Obi Kwankwaso because they know the formidability of Kwankwaso in the north, particularly in Kano, and Obi in the south. Obi is that likeness. Nigeria, for example, my son.
Those are just numbers.
My son,
but those are just numbers. After the election, what about the diversity that has to be managed after the elections? That's my real question.
You see, after the election,
if they win.
So after the election, you always find a way out.
Okay, when we get to the bridge,
we always find a way out.
Now, looking at the present.
I'm afraid. I thought we would be talking about the consequences of having a Muslim ticket again in APC. Now that you should be asking me, because I'm sure they have that problem now. Will another Muslim run with Tinubu? Will you afford to take a risk again and include Shetima in the ticket? That is the question.
I mean, but
Nigeria is changing, dynamics is changing, demography is changing.
So, Mr. Abib, from what you said, are you suggesting that the Vice President, Kashim Shettima's seat is not assured, because since 1999, every president that has won a re-election has always run with their vice presidents, and it hasn't changed on the ballots.
And I will remind you again. I also remind you that nobody president has picked someone from the same religion to be his running mate. It's the first time it's happening. So anything can happen.
So why do you think this situation might change?
No, he may decide to just go along with him and decide to change him based on the demographic. I'm saying, because the North, the people are watching. The US is also watching. The US is not disposed to Muslim ticket or Christian ticket. Because Nigeria is full of diversities. So we have to.
Why should
anything you are doing should be a reflection of those facts.
Nigeria is an Independence Day. Why should we be concerned if the US
no, but we are independent, but at the same time we are in the global neighborhood, not global village, global neighborhood.
All right, let's go to our third paper. Maybe if we have some time, we'll still come back to The Guardian. But let's go to this Nigerian newspaper. On the front page of this Nigerian newspaper, help us, rice farmers decry rising imports, increase in importation, crippling local cultivation, and keeping a lot of farmers out of business. We'll come to talk about that in a moment. SANU rejects fake 30% deal with federal government, issues strike ultimatum. Recall that they said the 30th of April is their deadline. NDLEA intercepts cocaine, loud, arrests fashion designer, orders.
Can you take that story?
What is loud?
I don't know what is loud.
What is loud?
Benga can tell us more about it.
You know what is loud?
Loud is a strong strain of cannabis. So NDLA is doing a great job in that.
Because you know Benga do visit nightclub and all those places.
Why is it Benga that is answering the question?
Because we don't
know. We're being educated here by a veteran.
I think Benga will send his lawyers to you guys for trying to bully my lady's reputation.
NBC's what?
And reputation.
NBC will fight my party for
good one.
Terror kingpin killed in factional clash. Military intensifies operations in Northwest. Rescued 13 kidnapped Benue Links passengers. World Bank didn't indict Nigeria on hidden spending, says Minister. We should probably start the conversation with that. The Federal Ministry of Finance has rejected claims that Nigeria's federation revenues are being diverted or hidden, describing the recent interpretations of a World Bank report as misleading and inaccurate. In a statement that was issued on Sunday, the Minister of State for Finance, Taiwo Oyedele, said that media reports suggesting that large-scale diversion of funds stem from a misunderstanding of the country's fiscal structure. He said such claims misrepresent the report's findings. Are you pleased with his response?
That list story is equally very important.
Yes, we'll come to that as well.
You know, this your story has been debunked by the Minister of Finance.
Yeah.
But I don't think we are comfortable or convinced with what they are talking about. You can't be taking a chunk of 40% from the earnings of federal government and don't know where it's going to. They take this money ab initio without going through the process. So I think it's not convincing. The federal government should tell us, even when the World Bank is complaining, that the money you are taking, and you end up having some agencies richer than even state government. But I don't think it's good enough.
Well,
I think economy should
so
talk about
it goes beyond just dismissing the report.
Yeah.
They need to show us
show what
evidence.
Exactly,
yes.
because that is not tidy at all.
Okay.
This story, rice farmers. During Buhari time, we were pumping champagne that we have got to try for the first time. Rice importation was reduced. Our people were going to farm and making money. So what happened?
Insecurity.
Suddenly, what happened?
Insecurity.
Because people don't want
and
to
also the government. From the government's perspective,
to.
they're trying to reduce the price of food inflation by allowing the importation of rice. So it's a very delicate
it's not good for our local farmers.
Balancing act. At what point do they stop? Because rice farmers are crying and complaining, and then but Nigerians just want affordable.
No. What the government should have done is to subsidize the local farmers so they can be independent. You don't do that because in the long run we'll be the losers.
This government is averse to anything nearing subsidy.
Yeah.
By the way, let me just remind you.
So
they are averse to anything that nears subsidy. They don't want to subsidize anything.
But if you look at this advanced economics, they subsidize their farmers when they run into problem. We should do the same thing in Nigeria.
Exactly.
We should not allow, people should not be importing rice. It's not good for our economy.
It's much more.
We're draining our scars for exchange.
But from research, it's much more than just the importations that actually are crippling this sector. There's also the transportation sector as well.
Yeah.
I was in Enugu only recently, and we were amazed that there's still coal being mined in Enugu, by the way, guys. They're still mining coal. But the problem is transportation. Back in the day, you'd put it in a rail, and then you get it to Lagos, and then you get it to the export points, and like that. But that damaged everything. So I was able to see, evidently, how transportation cripples sectors. And when it comes to food, that's another
problem. That is
insecurity as well. Yeah. But the roads, particularly from farm to your table, terrible, absolutely terrible. I can attest to that.
Storage too.
So there's
storage.
Yeah. And then there's also insecurities beyond the road.
You guys have said that 3 times. It's like the biggest factor.
I think it certainly is the biggest factor, because as a farmer, I want to be able to go to the farm knowing that, I'm not hearing people screaming and I'm running the next minute.
Or herders would destroy.
Will come with their cows and come and destroy the crop that I've planted. So there are many angles to that conversation. Let's also talk about, SANU rejecting fake 30% deal with federal government, and they've issued a strike ultimatum.
Very important, because ASU, they've settled the ASU problem. And you can't have an ASU without a SANU.
Correct.
Yeah, so the
Senior Staff Association of Nigeria.
Shouldn't the federal government
and even negotiations
NASU
too, equally important.
Should they not have
the important segment in the university system?
One body is just fighting for its own rights,
I think the minister is listening and is watching. I think it should be addressed. Because Nigerian government will not sit tight or sit up until they issue ultimatum. But they know that it's a serious matter. I'm sure with this kind of, because papers gave it a lot of prominence today, with papers. So I think it's becoming topic A in the polity. It should surely be addressed.
Olive, is almost like, we're fighting for the rights of anchors and broadcasters, and then the technical guys are left out of the deal, or the producers.
Exactly.
Why are they bringing that issue?
You just be speaking, and
the next
only the viewers that are lip readers.
That is on agenda.
Well, so they have warned that failure to meet the deadline will leave the unions with no choice but to embark on industrial strike action. They've also criticized the letter that circulated that alleges or alludes to a 30% increase, saying that they would not accept any such thing, and that ongoing conversations are still happening, and as such, nobody should make those calls.
When they call them to round table, I'm sure they will make concessions. They can't get everything they want. But I'm sure the Minister of Education is very pragmatic and intelligent. We address it.
But in all of these conversations, when it comes to SANU or NASU or whichever of these bodies, there's always one group of people that are never considered. And this is the unfortunate thing, is that these are the group of people that this entire body...
Without them, they cannot
talking about the students.
Very critical.
Let's pause on that very quickly and take this call from Frank. Okay. Frank's calling from River State. Hello, Frank. Good morning. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Let me react on the plan to reintegrate repentant terrorists into society. For me, it's not a welcome development for now. My reason is this: the high level of insecurity in our country. We should monitor those people first. Let them tackle with those unrepentant ones until they talk about the repentant one. Because what we are passing through today is not something that they will release them. Maybe they go and rejoin with their people and continue to terrorize Nigeria. It's better for federal government to think twice before they release those people. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much for that comment there. Okay, you were saying something. Sorry, please go ahead.
I cannot remember, for the love of me. What was I talking about? I was talking about the fact that these bodies are built around the students, and that no consideration is ever given in any of their deliberations about the students and what they're going through, the missed years. Look at JAM, for instance. This year, I think, I can't remember the exact figure, but it's burgeoning, it's big, and we're pushing these people inside of systems that are themselves not working correctly. So how to adjust to these different dynamics, SANU, NASU, federal government, and not discuss about these students who are going into tertiary universities, it boggles my mind.
And that's the most important factor, really, because the universities are created to impart knowledge and to train and make this, prepare them for a future.
All right, let's hear from Uche. Uche is calling from Abia State. Good morning, Uche. It's good to have you here. Thanks for calling. Yes.
Everybody. Hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Uche. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Earlier on this program, when we talked about a lawmaker in U.S. recommending amnesty, I want to ask, is it what happens in the U.S. happens here? The kind of system we operate here, is it what they operate there? They have a system mechanism that they will monitor somebody. Even before they will brought the person to court. In fact, your offense has been established. Is that how we operate here? What happens there or what works there cannot, work in our own client. Right. On issue of this amnesty we are talking about, I want to ask, does it mean that tomorrow, those people that kidnap those children that are, going for exams, if they stay 1 year in a police custody or in cell, they will tell us that they have repented. Then they will, integrate them to the society. What of the harm and the psychology of those children? They have dented. The way we are running the country will not work. My sister here talked about it's not this administration. It started, past administration. Let me ask. This same president said he is Buhari. He works with Buhari. Is it not APC? The same APC we are talking about. This administration or APC have been talking about PDP. How many years down the line? PDP governed 15 years. APC, is it 12 or 13 years now? Almost the same year. And we are still blaming. Nigeria will not work the way we are running the country. We need a new Nigeria, a new leadership. Our leaders, the way they are going, Nigeria will not work. God bless you, people.
God bless you. That last one be like me. Nigeria will work for us. So he has to work. We don't have any other place to call home.
Nigeria will work for all of us.
It will work. It must work. He doesn't have a choice.
That tone of despondency should not be tolerated. That will be positive. Nigeria will work. Our job is to make it work. Part of it is what you guys are doing. Putting issues on ground, on a platform for people to discuss. So we can plan ahead.
But I think he highlights a very important concern there when he talks about amnesty and the fact that the ones that are on ground, you haven't attended to that. It's the ones that are repentant. Exactly how do you calibrate repentance? Do you go into a person's mind and say, okay, this is 80% repentance, fine, you fit the quota. How exactly do you know a repentant terrorist?
Because they come and confess.
I don't believe in those things, though. I think any terrorist that is caught should be sent to hell.
Yeah, and then the justice
I don't buy the idea that you have to bring a murderer, a killer, and I've seen blood.
All right.
That's my opinion. I don't think so.
Ali from Abuja is calling. Good morning,
I think they should be prosecuted.
Ali, thank you very much for calling. Please go ahead.
Good morning. My greeting to your guest. I'm greeting your guest. Give my greeting to your guest.
All right.
Haruna, he's saying hi.
Let me go back to Obi Kwankwaso issue he was saying. I think I can still comment on it.
Please go ahead.
You see, it will not work. Obi Kwankwaso will not work. Atiku to watch the 2023 presidential election in the north, despite Buhari backing Tinubu. Atiku has over 5 million votes. Tinubu is being rejected in the north now, all over, everywhere you go. And if Atiku is on the ticket, I think up to more than close to 8 million votes will come from the north for him. I don't think Kwankwaso will be somebody that can bring votes.
Why do you say that? The Kwankwaso movement seems quite popular.
No, Kwankwaso movement is only in Kano. It's only in Kano. Let me tell you, even if Kwankwaso is not backing Atiku, the people of Kano in 2027, they will choose Atiku 90% over Ahmed Bola Tinubu. The North is no more with Tinubu. It was Buhari that was making the North, that made the North voted for Tinubu that time. It's no more, and they are displeased with Tinubu. It will not work. If they like, let them try. Tinubu will win election with Kwankwaso Obi ticket or Obi Kwankwaso ticket, whatever the thing. I think we have mass movement in the north. It will not work. The best thing is for Obi to be vice president. I'm telling you, down to my Kogi, ADC is moving. Kwankwaso is only talking of Kano. Without Kwankwaso in 2027, bet Atiku will win Kano. There's no alternative for them. The North is displeased. They are not with Tinubu as it is now. They are not with Tinubu. Look at what happened in Niger of recent. A senator that was talking about Tinubu, he came home. If God help him, if not for security, he would have been killed.
All right.
How many states will be won in the North in the 2023 election?
All right, Ali, I think we get your point. Thank you very much for sharing them.
Very, very instructive. Very, very, I repeat.
I mean, but it's his opinion.
What he's saying is his opinion. I take my own opinion too. But the narrative that is trending in the North now, after Buhari, the most popular Northerner is Atiku Abubakar. That is the narrative that is trending in the North now.
So what was the...
But why I don't buy that idea? No, yes. What I'm saying, why I don't buy that idea is that in the South, it will be different. But in the North, Atiku will beat anybody. That's what I say. What he's saying is very instructive. You understand politics. That guy. What he's saying is something that is filling in the North. Right. Is that without Kwankwaso or not, Atiku will win Kano. That's the fact. So all these things are what we should be looking at.
The ADC would also have to strategize.
All right. Very quickly, I just want to touch on the final story on the front page of The Guardian. Lagos NMA, that's the Nigerian Medical Association, removes chairman over alleged infractions. What are these alleged infractions? It was said that he failed to convene an emergency meeting requested by affiliate groups within the stipulated time frame. It was said that the process was triggered. They had an emergency meeting and then, they removed him and put his successor, Dr. Ewonowo, said the process was triggered after 10 affiliate heads and members demanded an emergency congress, citing constitutional breaches. He also alleged that the former chairman walked out of a previous emergency meeting held on the 13th of January 2026 and submitted an unratified delegate list. According to him, these actions amounted to procedural violations that necessitated disciplinary action. Meanwhile, his name is his name is Dr. Babajide Saheed, and this happened on Saturday. Meanwhile, he has also said, and it is the Punch that carries this one, that he was not removed. He feels like what is happening in our political parties is not happening with the Nigerian Medical Association.
List of those doctors so they don't come near me or my family and treating us. These are political doctors.
You plan on falling sick in this time. Times we're right now. Your health is actually well. Try not to fall ill.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Mr. Aruna, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you to our virtual audience. Apologies I couldn't take YouTube comments today, but tomorrow, like you said, your YouTube prefect is back. Your comments will be x-rayed and taken on to come your way again. See you tomorrow.
In honor of Joe Hansen.
Yes, in honor of Joe. We miss you, Joe. Bye, everyone.